That's what we're thinking. Easy.
Good evening.
Good
I'd like
evening.
to call the December edition of the BOT to order. Thank you all for coming, students. We're especially excited to hear from you this evening, and parents and faculty and staff. Thank you as well. Let's get started. We'll quickly review the agenda and get moving in the agenda. We have a couple board members that are going to be late. So we'll look at the minutes here in a minute. Hear from our parent and our faculty representatives. And then the ED will have an update with student presentation. Public comment for those who would like to sign up for a public comment. The sheet should be on the podium there. Please do so. There are a number of chair business items, finance committee update, governance committee, education fundraising, and then we'll build our agenda for the next meeting. Our final event of the evening will be an executive session to discuss pending litigation, strategy for collective bargaining. That will be a closed session, and we will go into that and not resume public meeting afterwards. Pauline, the one question I had on the agenda, do we have a Board of Trustees nomination this evening?
Yes, we do, and so we can either move that, we should probably move that up.
Yes, we'll move that up. Did anybody else have any questions on the agenda for this evening? All right. Let's look at the minutes first, and then we will move to board nominations. And we are being recorded, so that's just an announcement for a public meeting on the video recording going on. Just a question on the executive session. Was there collective bargaining and pending litigation discussed?
Not,
No,
Strictly
just collective bargaining, okay. Anybody have any questions on the minutes? All right, is there a second? Scott, all in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes. So let's go to BOT nomination.
okay. We do have a candidate to be nominated. The governance committee has met last week and nominated Ken Estabrook. Just as some background, as I did last month, the board has been looking for specific skill sets, and HR and organizational development was a big one. We were also looking for people with experience with open meeting law and governance in public body, and it was very fortunate, actually, that Ken is a new parent at the school. He's a resident of one of the core towns from Maynard. He currently works at MIT in their Lincoln Laboratories organization, and he is managing their training and education. And previously, he was at Johns Hopkins in a similar kind of role in their applied physics department. And Ken has also had a great deal of experience in public bodies, both as a member of the Maynard Planning Board and a member of the Maynard School Committee. So we're very excited to have to nominate him for a role as a trustee. So Ken, could you please give an introduction, and then board members can ask questions.
Well, now that you've said everything about me, I'm not sure what more I can say. So as Pauline said, my name is Ken Estabrook. I live in Maynard with my wife and 2 daughters. My sixth grader Aurora started this year, and my 5th grader Haven is ready to start next year. As Pauline said, until recently I was on the elected school committee in Maynard. Previous to that, the planning board. By profession, I managed the training and education programs at Lincoln Laboratory, which is one of the departments and labs of MIT. And so in that role, I'm responsible for the training of the staff, the scientists, the engineers, the administrative staff, and so forth. And so I get to see sort of folks, after they've gone through school and everything like that, in terms of the preparation of the day after their career. So I'm very interested in the whole idea here of, obviously I'm interested in AMSA because my daughter is here, interested in seeing how that prepares her for her career and so forth.
Can I ask you a tough question? Do you think that your affiliation with MIT might help AMSA?
So I guess in the sense that perhaps that I can help people sort of maybe navigate through the process and so forth, perhaps a little bit. I'm not sure that there are any MIT professors that, hearing my name, will sit there and say, "Oh, well, geez, if Ken Estabrook approves, then it must be okay." So
Maybe some internships or fellowships in Lincoln Labs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. I did have an opportunity to meet with Ken, and I think his experience on the Maynard School Committee could bring a lot of value to this board in terms of his understanding of governance. And I think two of the things that he expressed to me that I felt the most compelling was his interest in educational policy, as well as his interest in supporting our efforts and improving communication programs.
Okay, if there's not any questions, then I'd like to make a motion to recommend that Ken Estabrook be voted as a trustee for a term ending whatever June 3 years from now is. June 2018.
Second by Melissa. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes. Welcome, Ken. Is there a seat for you?
yes.
So I think we'll be awaiting your approval by the state. You're welcome to sit in and be a part of the discussion, but I don't think you have the right to vote just yet.
And just to make a note, both Ev and Mike, who voted on last month, have not yet been approved by the state, so they can't vote this meeting either.
But they've got nameplates, so they've taken one as
But they've got nameplates, so they're taking a step.
That's what you have to look forward to, Ken.
Ken also, our recommendation is that he gets nominated for the education committee. So, we need you to officially put him on that committee.
Ken, I'd like to put you on the education committee. Thank you. All right. Perfect. Okay. So next on our agenda was the parent representative update.
So I will be providing a presentation on family survey results for an Oscar.
Yeah.
So I will do, that'll be my parent rep update. The
Okay.
one thing I did want to use this time is just to talk to the full board. One of the things that I took on as an initiative is to try to help streamline the website, our trustees page, and create a hierarchy that made the flow easier for the community to get information. So it's really about improving transparency, which has been a goal for us, and clarity of the role. So there'll be more of a description of our role, and it doesn't necessarily go just to the trustee bios, but really to the description of what the board does. And then the other thing we're looking at doing is adding some of the subcommittee information, so descriptions of the subcommittees, as well as some of the minutes. So those are some of the things that I've been working on, and I've just sent that information out to our webmaster, so it'll probably take some time, but hopefully it'll just make that section of the website a little bit more functional. I did create a little bit of a hierarchy that I can share, and then hopefully in
Yeah, this was a lot of work, Melissa, thank you. It's in the spirit of improving transparency and communication, and we're all on the way.
That's really it for me.
Okay.
So are these tabs things that are on the website?
So right now, there's a number of tabs that you can have under each section. So there's the trustees tab, and we do have upcoming meetings and meeting minutes, and we have policies and board documents and contact info. What I tried to do is just expand the about section. So there's an overview, there's information about the standing committees, then there's the bios. There's include information about joining the board, and the board, some of the expectations of a board member. So a lot of the hard work that the recruiting task force has done, really pulling that together in a way that the community has visibility to that, as well as an FAQ. So I've crafted maybe 7 questions and answers. I would ask any board members, if you have questions that people come and ask you, that we should be adding on to there, please let me know. It's that I put things like, where do you find the minutes? Can I attend a meeting? Can I speak at a meeting? What's the public comment section about? How do I reach board members? So those are the types of questions that I've already crafted. But really, it's just to get some information out there so that people have a place to get it rather than coming to us or not being able to reach somebody.
Do we have, are we going to have email set up for our board members?
I think
have
they're
email.
ready.
And I believe it's been set up so that it does forward to the email account that we've given Amsacs for us. So we are getting it.
So your sladner@amsacs.org, anything sent to that email address goes to your whatever email.
Anything else, Melissa?
That's it.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Bowen for the faculty rep report.
Hi, thanks. So I just wanted to start off with something positive. We're going to change the way, really? We have a new system of progress reports, and Dr. DeMello sent an email about that today, and most of the faculty that I talked to really were positive about this. They think it's going to be not a lot more work for them, but an increase in the communication without adding to their burden of how much work they're doing. So basically what will happen, and this was in the email from Dr. DeMello, is that homeroom teachers are putting together the report, and we'll do that tomorrow, and then it will be available for parents. And so it's basically just sort of saying, here's what your updated grades are at this moment. Hopefully, and that will not only be a progress report, but also take the place of midterm warnings. So if you were in danger of failing in the past, teachers had to send out a form and then track that form back, and that sort of got complicated. Did they go to the homework teacher, subject teacher? Anyways, so I think most of the faculty I talked to were positive about the progress reports. I think there's also just sort of a sense among the faculty that we're in sort of an endless, we're just waiting. There hasn't been a lot of changes, which maybe that's good, but I think there's both good and bad things. People are, of course, just waiting for break. We're waiting for our staff party tomorrow night. We're waiting to hear what the results of the ED search are, what the principal search is, and there's just sort of a sense of just of uneasiness and just waiting among the staff. The other thing I want to mention is that I know that communication is a goal that we are working on. It seems that sometimes when the communications go out, sometimes they go to parents and sometimes they go to staff, and somehow we need to make that clearer, because there's sort of an assumption that everybody's getting the same communication. As an example, an email went out to staff that report cards had been uploaded, but that didn't go out to parents, and then the snow day explanation went out just to parents and not to staff. And I heard from some teachers, they're like, oh, I would have liked that explanation of the snow day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know why we have different output loops, but maybe there shouldn't be different output loops.
Maybe it goes out to parents and community.
Yeah. Some of the staff, the snow day, or the non-snow day, I'm sorry, some of the staff also had family issues and driving issues, and they're like, oh, I would have appreciated that email. And I don't think it was intentional, it's just sort of that's the way the communication loop is going. The only other thing I've heard is a little bit of grumbling about that we have to report small gifts. I know that that's the law, and but it hasn't been something that we've had to do in the past. So I think people are feeling a little frustrated that report, now we have to go, you can't accept more than 50, and between 10 and 49 you have to report, which the law hasn't changed, it's just sort of the policy of the school, and now it's more up to date, and it's correct, it's just, it was like, oh. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the reporting thing can be easier, I haven't had to do it yet, so somebody was saying there's quite a few forms, I don't know.
Just the form we gave is the form.
So do you,
It's part of the, it's actually, you probably,
Because we have to
don't know why,
take the
but
thing.
it's been part of the ethics that
Yeah.
you've taken at the beginning of every school year.
Yeah,
It's a requirement.
yeah.
so do you fill out one form for all, or
I'd have to look at it again, 'cause I haven't taken gifts like that in a long time. Just make it your policy not to, this is what I've done for so long, so to be honest, I have to look at it again. Multiple, but.
I don't know if there's a way to just sort of make that,
I'm sure you can fill out the main one and then
And
get
just
more than one.
tack on what they, I'll
Yeah.
look at it again.
yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if there's, that's it, that's all I've got.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Muller.
Questions?
Oh, yeah.
So, in terms of, well, two things. One, you kind of feeling of just waiting. Are people feeling like they're being made to wait for things they shouldn't have to wait for? It's like waiting for a new executive director, not much you can do about that. Waiting for holidays, not much we can do about that.
Yeah, no, I think that there's sort of a general sense that not much is happening, not much has changed, and we're just sort of in a holding pattern, and that's a little frustrating. On the other hand, that is, nothing's getting worse, so that's good.
so I would say, just from the family survey, if you have an opportunity to read all 20 pages of open comments, there are some comments in there about, I feel like nothing's happening. So I think that it's not 100 comments, but maybe there's 2 or 3
Yeah.
people that are saying, I don't feel that specifically as the board's moving about stuff. And I know you're ready to move as fast as they can, but I will say
I
that.
felt like at just the opposite last board meeting, that things were moving too fast.
No, that's a good point. That's exactly the feedback you got.
Yeah, I think
I can only share what I know.
it's definitely a fine line to walk, I think, because we don't want to sort of come in and upset the apple cart and just change everything overnight, and that, I think, would be just as upsetting to staff. But I think there's just sort of this sense of like, how long will the waiting go on? What are we waiting, there's just sort of this, okay.
Would you say this is a large percentage of people, or is this, a smaller group, or is it the majority, or how would you characterize it?
I would say, and I think part of it is just sort of the time of the year. You're sort of, at this point, you're knee deep, if you're lucky. But I would say, I'd say a large percentage. That's my sense. I mean, I try and talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different groups, so, but, I mean, I obviously don't talk to all 80 people, but that's my sense.
I will go on the record, Mike will kind of go through the process. A lot of man hours and woman hours have been spent on the ED search. So I don't go on record on that, and Mike will actually discuss that a little later.
We have,
Just for the record.
Not specific, comments are not specific to the
Okay.
survey.
Yeah.
I think the comments are actually specific to the climate.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you again. So let's move on to
Thank you. This evening, I'd actually like to start out by asking Dr. Duray to come up and introduce a group of students we have here. We're going to share some research with you, but I'll let Dr. Duray introduce this.
How you doing? I was here back in October. We had discussed a research initiative that we're trying to institute here. We've got about 10 students, most of which are sitting right over here, which are doing not necessarily novel research yet, but we're still getting our policies and procedures up and running. So what I'm planning to do is present the areas of research that we're doing for July 2nd here. We've got a sustainability research, wildlife management research, a biotech or microbiology research, and geoscience. Currently, our geoscience and biotechnology research are our largest of 5 for respective students, and the other 2 areas have 1 each. I'm going to introduce Carl, who we first up. And he's going to talk to us about our wildlife conservation with Mr. Kudo.
So my name is Carl Austin, and this year I've been doing a wildlife conservation study with Mr. Kudo. And so the whole point of this wildlife conservation study is to do a wildlife survey and a population survey of small animals. And for the wildlife survey, we've been using game cameras or motion sensitive cameras with infrared technology on them to survey the land surrounding Amsacs for animals, or for larger animals. And for the population survey, we've been doing some trapping of very small mammals smaller than a chipmunk. So far we've deployed some motion sensitive cameras around Amsacs. And one of the pictures we got of this is the picture on the top of the deer. And we got this picture near a stream between Amsacs and 495 out there. We got this picture and a few other pictures of deer. A lot of the other pictures we got were just triggered by like leaves falling or maybe people walking by. Then we also made a list of all the possible small mammals that we could trap around Amsacs with the traps that we have. And the requirements for this list were that the animal had to be small enough to fit in our trap and it just had to live in the area. So not many requirements to get into that list, but on that list we put the size of the animal, the habitat that it lived in, and the food that it ate. And we put those 3 things on there because those 3 things would be very helpful for our trapping. We want to know what the animal eats so we know what to bait the traps with, and where it lives so we know where to set our traps so we're more likely to trap animals. We also researched some trapping methods. So we researched trap layout and calculating population size, and we practiced our equipment use to get used to using the equipment. And you know your equipment, so when you actually go out to collect data, you can go through the process smoothly and just worry about getting the data and not having any complications. And what we're going to do next is design our study. We want to develop what we're doing and advance it. We want to do some more data collection in the spring and do more larger trapping sessions with more traps. So far we've done 1 small mammal trapping session with 10 traps, and we caught 4 mammals. But we want to get up to maybe 50 traps so that we have a more accurate estimation of the population size.
What kind of small mammals do you catch?
So far they've just been mice, like small deer mice. That was the only mammal we caught. We caught 4 of them.
Are you going to study biology or something to that effect?
Yeah, I do have some interest in studying biology.
That's awesome. These are live traps, obviously.
Yes, live traps. We bait them with peanut butter and then put some cotton inside so that they have a bed to sleep on.
And how many, you made a list of how many you think you might find?
We made a list of all the possible species that we can trap.
How long is that list?
Probably about 20 20
Uh-huh.
species on there. So there's a lot of different, like very, very small differences in some of the species.
Well, different species of mice.
Yeah.
On the outside?
Not all of them, I mean, we can find some in here.
I guess you
No,
know
I'm
where to
just
bring
kidding.
them when you catch them, right?
So,
That's more.
what are you hoping to learn from this?
Well, we want to learn like the population density and just learn what's out there, because this is like the first time anything like this has been done at AMSA, so we're pretty new to this, and we're just kind of going at it, and we don't really have a guideline. We're just collecting what data we can find and just kind of learning as we go.
Are there any comparative studies in terms of, you talked about wanting to increase the density of the traps. Is your desire to follow other kinds of studies the thing that's driving you to want to do that? I mean, what's the ideal density of traps, I guess, is the question.
Well, what we found out from the research that we did is that the more traps you set, the more accurate your number is going to be. So it's really unlimited. It's just time is really the only restraint you have.
Are there any other tests or any other equipment that you wish you had?
Equipment, not really, but maybe like visiting like a Mass Wildlife Center that's done research like this would be helpful, because we could learn a lot from visiting a center like that.
Any other questions? Thank you. That's good perspective.
Thank you.
We do have all the necessary permits to actually trap and release, and if any mammals happen to perish, we have to donate them to the local college. I don't know why, they want them, whatever. So up next, we have Mr. Brands is going to be speaking on behalf of Joey, who cannot make it because he's representing AMSA at a testimony.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Hopefully
one
he's doing well.
question, Dr. Ray? And Jeff, so for all of these students, are they participating in this in a classroom, extracurricular? How?
Yeah. In order to get the ability to pull this off, we had to find students who had a study hall when my teachers had a free block. So the teacher's giving up prep time, the student is giving up study hall. And in the case of a lot of them, they're coming in before school and staying after school. And as you can imagine, Carl can't trap during the day. They set the traps at night and have to check them early in the morning, otherwise the animal will perish. So some of these things are definitely done way outside of normal working hours here. Hopefully it will become a class in the future, and we're trying to expand the program and include more, but we have to start. This is actually bigger than I wanted to start it, but the need was there, and I think the student interest is there.
Faculty-initiated projects, and then students showed interest, and that's all. And their availability is the term.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get the teachers excited about what they're passionate about, then that passion translates to students. And then people are coming in on their own time and not making this work because they're having fun. So, kind of modeling what we want to teach.
So Joey Cellino and myself, Mr. Prince, we've been doing research in areas of sustainability. Obviously, it's very highly variable as to where you can do your research on. But we found quite a few things, a few avenues to focus our research on. Eventually, we'd like to focus on one, which is turning switchgrass into biodiesel. But for now, we've been in conjunction with Waterfresh Farms in Hopkinton, and we've been looking at ways to modify his greenhouse so he can better mediate mildew issues with his greenhouse. And so we're looking into that. We've partnered with him, and we've been taking samples. Joey's done a lot with learning how to handle samples, his aseptic techniques and whatnot. We've also did outreach with NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farmers Association, and we did outreach to them in order to say, hey, we can do free soil testing for heavy metals and such throughout the New England area. And so Joey's had firsthand experience as to, gathering the samples and measuring the samples out and using, a variety of techniques, including the use of the XRF, which is the X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. So some of the techniques that Joey has been working on, as I said before, his aseptic techniques, all the way from learning how to take gloves off and put them back on without, getting them soiled or anything else like that. Also transferring specimens, working with mildew, you don't want to get the mildew everywhere, so, maintaining that clean work environment. And also assembling slides so you can actually observe the mold and mildew. And other things that he's working on or towards, as I said before, the XRF for using that piece of technology to see heavy metals in soils. And currently he's working on creating his own procedure for the use for the Barnstead International Furnace, picture is bottom right. And this furnace that can get up to 1,000 degrees. And so we're going to do loss on ignition and basically to see what's the carbon content of those organic soils. So the farmers have a much more accurate representation of what's actually in their soils. He's also been taught in ways how to use hydroponic and aquaponic units, which are located in the classroom. So he's going to eventually use those more and more as time goes on to grow the switchgrass, and eventually, once we grow the switchgrass, we'll be able to turn it into a form of biodiesel. So, unfortunately, Joey can't be here, but I can tell you right now he's really excited about this program and he loves it. So, just saying. Christopher Ludlam's next with his research. So,
All right, so my name is Christopher Ludlam. I've been working alongside Junior Charlie Lane, I'm a senior. I've been working alongside Junior Charlie Lane and Courtney Mallard and sophomore Courtney Mallard on the supervision of Ms. Valancourt looking at doing research in geoscience.
Are your classmates here tonight?
Yes, they are here. Charlie, raise your hand. Courtney and Amelia. So what we have been doing is we've actually been working on 4 different projects at one time, each student working on their own project. Myself, I've been working on a lead survey of Marlborough, Massachusetts, looking at the lead content in the soil. Charlie has been working on a lead and arsenic contamination of the Glen Street neighborhood, which is opposite of Forkix, actually. Amelia has been working on a community outreach alongside Mr. Brandes and Joey, preparing samples and looking at the heavy metal concentration in the soil. And then Courtney is working, she's doing an exploratory analysis of the Aspen River in Hudson, looking at the metals inside of the river. From here, we have done our research and we have created abstracts which have been submitted to the Geological Survey of America, the GSA, for the ability to do a conference presentation later on in the year. We collected about 200 samples, which were scanned using the XRF as stated by Mr. Brandes earlier. I have also traveled to Salem State to work with some of the undergraduates there, and Mr. Valancourt's old supervisor helped them with their research a little bit using the XRF. For the rest of this year, we will be heading up to Bretton Woods, New Hampshire for the GSA conference, which will be in May 23rd to 25th. March? March 23rd to 25th.
We graduated in May.
I'm pretty sure I'm getting out in March, I'm not sure. So we'll be heading up to Bretton Woods to hopefully present our research if our abstracts get accepted. We will also be working with Salem State, again, hopefully, to head out to Dillon, Montana. And we are going to be, hopefully, doing a field experience out there, work with our field methods, We'll be heading out there, I believe we'll be camping out there for 2 weeks, assuming it goes through.
Camping in the dorms at the University of Montana South.
We'll be out there for 2 weeks doing research out there. And then we will also be sending out the results of the farms that we scan to all the farmers. And from there, we will be looking at what exactly is in the soil. So for example, in a couple of the soil samples found cadmium, we are going to report that to the farm saying, this isn't good, and you should pay attention to this because you need to know this plant will not grow at all because it will, the roots will uptake certain heavy metals which would not be optimal in the plants. So we will be looking into that, we'll seeing where different soils will be optimal for different plants. We're going to look at the effects on the organism for that with Amelia's research. I'm going to be looking at in the future, be looking at a full survey across all of Marlborough, hopefully, to locate the areas, excuse me. Thank you. Looking at the areas where lead is higher across Marlborough. One thing I found was that lead is much more prevalent in areas alongside roads, possibly due to leaded gasoline pre-1978. Charlie will be looking at other orchards across Massachusetts from lead, arsenic, pesticides, which was the main reason we were exploring the Glenbrook area. And then Courtney will be looking more into the Aspet River, seeing what caused the heavy metals being inside of the Aspet River. To do this, we will need to hopefully get access to the XRF one more time. We had a week in November, the week before Thanksgiving break, where we had to do all of our soil sample scanning in that 1 week, which was a major time constraint. I took out every single one of my study halls as well as a couple classes. I know Courtney got out many of her study halls. Charlie stayed after school and he got out of classes, and Amelia was able to do it during the actual period we had for research, as she was not able to get any extra time. But I know Charlie stayed after on Monday, the week we had it. Charlie stayed after till I think 4:30, I think you said? Something like that? 5? Me and Amelia stayed after on Tuesday until 6. I stayed after until 5 on Wednesday and 6 on Thursday and Friday. It was a major time constraint. So if we would be able to get access to that in the future, it would be excellent because we would be under such an insane time constraint. We'd be able to get more scans, and hopefully we were able to do triplicate scans on each of the soil samples, which means we scan them 3 times. So we get a good average, hopefully.
Is that a piece of AMSA equipment?
We rented it from, what was the company we rented it from? Olympus. We rented it from them for a week. It cost about $2,000 total for the week.
That's the XRF?
That's the XRF, yes. We rented it for 2 weeks, which cost about $2,000. The piece of equipment itself we were looking at would cost about $35,000.
If you're looking at it, you're thinking about buying it.
Yeah. They have cool toys right now. What we were doing is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Valancourt and Dr. Dre have been working in the same state on possibly receiving a grant in order to help pay for that.
We're working on a grant with Salem State to try and geology department. To not get necessarily a handheld model like we use, but a real nice one. It's about $200K. That would live at Salem State. It's going to be in coordination with Salem State, a community college, Minuteman Community, not Minuteman, Bunker Hill Community College. Working on that. Wouldn't be bad to get one here.
Maybe the $35,000.
Yeah.
Unless you really want to go crazy, then.
Yeah.
Okay with that.
Okay, so up next we have,
Thank you.
up next we have Santiago, who's going to speak on behalf of the Molecular Biology Research Group, or Biochem.
Hi guys, again, I'm Santiago Vargas. Good evening. I work alongside Ali Caulfield, Agnes Viviani, Drew Rubin, and Derek Newberry, who can join us tonight in the Molecular Biology Research Program here at So the scientific basis of the program is to use the green fluorescent protein gene to study the protein-protein interactions in E. coli and yeast and potentially develop a system where we can go in and modify these cells to express certain genes that we want beyond that initial GFP. Individually, we want to work with the students so they can develop various biochem techniques and do all of these procedures on their own start to finish. So there's a whole host of benefits we gain individually as students in this program. I mentioned the independent research experience. Each one of us has the capacity here to work through a lab procedure from start to finish. And these aren't high school procedures. These are full-blown college procedures that we're working with. Especially Allie and I, we're seniors. We've had more experience with these sort of programs and science in general. So we need to work with the other students in this program as mentors. We need to collaborate with each other and work to get them up to speed so that they're proficient in the techniques they need to be able to do. The other benefit is what I'm doing right now. I'm speaking to a larger audience about the work I'm doing. In addition to that, we need to work with time management skills because we work on a high school timeline, or high school schedule, better yet. We don't have 4-hour blocks like they do in college. We have 45-minute intervals that are spread out throughout the day, and maybe we have lunch, maybe after school, but we need to be able to work with that and plan procedures accordingly. In addition, we make a lot of mistakes, and that's what research is all about. So we need to work with each other to get back up and keep on going with our program despite having setbacks and making mistakes. So, where we're going in the next couple of months and possibly into next year is comparing various transformation methods in E. coli and yeast, various methods of getting these genes into the cells so that we can compare their efficiency and see how they meet our goals. So once we get these genes into the cell, we need to confirm that they're actually there. So that's what we do with electrophoresis and GFP. We want to isolate these genes out of the cells and then purify them so that we can test them individually to see that we actually did what we wanted to do.
How do you get them in?
That's what the transformation methods do. We have electrical methods and chemical methods by which we can get the genes into the cell. Right now, the GFP gene. And finally, the last thing we want to talk about is possibly getting different genes into the cells in addition to the GFP, making different strains of cells that can perform various different tasks, and that would be the ultimate goal of this program. That's actually all I have for you tonight. Thank you for your time.
No, I'm all set. I mean, the students speak for themselves.
They are awesome.
Thank you.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable you can do college research camps. We're strapped for facilities, funds, and creativity sometimes. It's really cool.
So lots more to follow as we explore grant opportunities and partnerships with other universities and organizations for science. So more to follow. Thank you all for coming out. Next, I'd like to just give a little bit of an update on Let's Talk. You may recall that we talked about purchasing this and moving forward as a mechanism for enhancing communication. And we had several team members around listening to the webinar and going through the program and so on. And in the end, I'd like to take you through some of the pros and cons that we recognize through it. One is it had the ability to track a variety of...
Before you go
Oh,
on,
sorry.
do the new board members know what Let's Talk is about?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's a software tool that becomes a website that the community at large can have a moderated forum to ask questions, express concerns. And it is billed as something that the administration can use to help them make sure communications are efficient and effective, measure sentiment and what's going on.
And so we went through this to learn about it and to see how it was going to be able to be implemented with our staff. So it had the ability to track comments and questions that come in from folks, to provide an analysis of some of the trends that you may see. It does offer optional anonymity, and it allows for monitoring the personnel response time and could be incorporated as an evaluation tool, which at the same time could be considered a con is, I think, this climate right now, having people feel like if they're not returning in a certain amount of time, that kind of thing was going to be monitored. Requires retraining of personnel. At indirect means of contact, and that questions would come in and they would get rerouted to somebody. One of the things we've been trying to talk about a lot in the last several months is, as much as possible, creating opportunities for people to engage in conversation, for people to ask a question, FaceTime, and be able to respond in a thorough manner, and also to ensure that there's not miscommunication by written words that don't have a tone or a voice, or don't always allow for immediate clarity of something. It also creates delay time. Somebody asks, then you respond, then they write back and you respond. So we're trying to encourage that. Didn't feel like this was going to support that. It was clear there's going to be additional responsibility for staff, and in listening to everything that the vendor had to say, we weren't really sure that it was addressing the actual need, which was improving the communication, especially because if it came in anonymous, there wasn't a way to then respond. So it's just like you're hearing, but you can't have engage in a conversation to understand it more deeply or to address it. And it seemed to just foster the impersonalization. We also, I contacted the superintendent of schools from Hanover as well as Norton, where the vendor also talked to us and said, oh, they're using it and so on. And in talking to those two superintendents, one had used it primarily for some very targeted topics that they put up, like they were constructing a new building. They put a topic up that, you selected that topic, you could then talk about it. And the other superintendent was just barely getting started with it, so not a lot of information from there. But as we talked as a team, we felt that one of the main things that was coming out of the climate report was around people not knowing who to go to. Part of it was the reporting process of, well, who do you go to for a particular concern? And one thing that we feel is missing that we think we can put in place rather readily is something on our website that clearly gives some flow charts and gives some areas so that you put the topic out, people click on it, and they know exactly who to go to. And maybe a page of just those key, some sort of key topics, hot topics, and who does that question get addressed to? And that gives, I think, a more immediate opportunity, and put their contact information so they can email, but they can also make a phone call. And again, we want to continue to encourage more open lines of communication when possible. There was also the misconception, I think, in hearing from some of the board members that maybe when it was sold, it was under the impression that it was everything that was up on it was public and that other people could view the information, but that is not how it works. So people are sending stuff. It's just really a routing system is we went through. So if you had a topic up like new building project, the person would go to that, fill out a series of questions to get information put into a record, and then it would go out to whoever was assigned for that particular. So it really is just working as a routing mechanism.
For public.
No, so for that routing mechanism, we can do that on our own website without having, incurring the cost of running something like that. I think, so what we've decided is that we feel that we can put things in place that we feel will be just as efficient as that website was proposing, as well as continuing to do some of the other things we put in place, like at least monthly coffees and some targeted, and having them in the morning and in the evenings for opportunities, encouraging people to come in and have conversations. And so we've had lots of meetings with parents and teachers one-on-one, and with students. So just trying to foster opportunities for as intimate types of conversations as you can have about topics to eliminate hearsay. We've also are looking right now at revising some of our website components. I know there's been some struggles right now around a Facebook group that was actually an unofficial AMSA site and perceived differently, so we're trying to get some changes to make sure that what comes in, or I should say what goes out from AMSA is accurate information that's kind of embedded through appropriate channels, and so that we have control of what's being said about particular responses to questions, so we know that people are getting the right information. It's also hard because people are going to so many locations, trying to get them to go to a website. For a district, your website is your, for a school, that's your focal point. And so if we can get everybody to go there, and from there things get funneled out, then people don't have to go to so many places to find the information. So, still more to be worked out, but those are some of the things we're trying to do. Next, if I can just give a quick blurb update on,
Before you continue on the Let's Talk, I guess, I was under the perception that it was some type of like moderated forum. So it's unfortunate that, we didn't really understand the program, but I do still believe that, I'm not sure that just having that routing is really addressing the need that we thought this would. So that's kind of where I'm at. I still think that, a lot of questions may come through and you're able to answer to one particular parent, but there might be other parents out there that have the same questions, but just don't feel comfortable asking. And I felt that the Let's Talk, just how I understood it, really got the information out there all at the same time. And I think that,
so one of the things we thought with that, to address that issue, was that as things come up, we can create categories and also put FAQ pages that are associated with certain things. Because if something came in that seems, kind of a general question thing, that's important, that we then put it back out as corrected information. So for example, I may get a call from someone like this happened. Someone says, you're changing your enrollment policy. It's like, misinformation, we're not changing our enrollment policy. So we immediately put something out, we are not changing our enrollment policy, the enrollment policy is here, here's where you can find it, so on. So trying to always stay ahead of those kinds of.
I was actually thinking of the FAQ as well, having just done that process for our own page. I think that might be helpful.
Agreed.
I think that when the Let's Talk system was originally brought up, it was from a board candidate who raised it last spring, and we definitely had a different understanding of what the system was and what it could do. I sat in on one of the initial calls, and it is very different. I mean, it's unfortunately not moderated forum. It doesn't put all the information out there. It is really more of a routing mechanism and tracking, and so it's not. I mean, it's the school's decision whether to move it forward, but it didn't address the need that we all were thinking it was going to address.
Yeah, I did over the summer one of those where you call in and you got the training, and I left with almost the same impression that tell us, oh, it took somebody 24 hours to get that question answered.
Right,
but it won't really help us let everybody know that question has been answered and what the answer is.
And maybe there's some discussion around one question, and there's another question that's
Right.
corollary, and kind of how do you group that information, make it available?
Yeah.
I think the more important part is if we feel that there are themes of questions, we should be sharing those answers so that it'll minimize the number of questions your staff gets, and it'll just make the information a little bit more.
But to try to do that on a website is difficult. You're always updating documents versus.
Well, I try to shoot stuff out on Facebook as much as possible. I'll say it again, because I'm here. We have a Facebook page for the school, but there's also some general things to make about that, but there are some more specific things really that kind of deal with broader topics and maybe some different topics that I'm putting out. Sometimes it's general, but sometimes it may be things like tonight. I've already put out, that Mr. Estabrook was elected to the board tonight. So there's all kinds of things that can go out. But again, if people know where to go to get the information and how to get it, because some of the biggest concerns were still around, I don't know who to ask, I don't know who's responsible for that. Those are the things we're working to get clarity on and to get them, they'll be coming, getting up on our site.
I think in the whole discussion we had about Let's Talk, I think the goal of that program was mostly designed around parent communication with the school as compared to the climate survey, which was faculty focused. So, still trying to figure out and improve our outreach to the parents. So we improve that, and I don't, it sounds, I would agree that we're tracking something that's not what we're looking for, but some just I encourage you to keep out there looking for other ways that we can improve our communication between the school and